Pamela Jones, who's going to give a brief overview of our setup for this evening. Pam?
Sure. I am going to just quickly add some notes in the chat, and I'm just going to ask people to make sure that they're muted when they're not speaking and wait to be called upon if they have a comment. I want everyone to have respectful communication, regardless if you agree or disagree with what's being presented or discussed today. And if you could just use the raise hand or reaction features to participate. Keep your remarks brief and state your point. As Fatima said, we have a packed agenda this evening. And if you could just keep your comments concise and relevant to the agenda items for tonight's meeting. So are we switching up the discussion agenda, Fatima? Someone else is going first?
Let's see.
Because
I see. Oh, you see 24 Leston Street. I think Antonio, are you here? Yes, Antonio is here.
All right. So Antonio.
Yes, for 24 Leston Street.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, Antonio, are you ready to present?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Good morning. So should I just share my screen? Is that the best way?
Yes, you can. You should be able to share.
Okay. Just bear with me 1 moment. All right, looks like it's loading on my end. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Not yet. Now
we can.
Okay, we're there now.
Yes. But your voice is a little pixelated.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I might be having some connectivity issues, so I'll try my best to move along here. I do want to say thank you, everyone, for allowing me and my colleague to join you this evening on Leston Street. My name is Antonio Leish. I'm joined by my colleague, Jamie, and I'll just pass it to him to introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Jamie Smith with Mayor's Office of Housing.
Great. Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, so I have an agenda here on the screen today, just make the community aware of our first community engagement regarding 24 Leston Street at this stage, and we'll talk through about it within the presentation. Is that we are seeking community feedback on the future use of this particular parcel. But for today, we'll kind of talk about MOH on a macro scale for those of you that are not aware or will benefit from additional information. We'll kind of quickly go over the public land disposition process and what that looks like relative to this parcel. And then ultimately the goals and objectives for our participation in this meeting today. And we'll jump into the site background, existing conditions of the site, and discussions, next steps that will follow the Mayor's Office of Housing. For those of you that don't know, the Mayor's Office of Housing is responsible for housing the homeless, developing affordable housing, and managing the city's real estate. I'm joining you from the Real Estate Management and Sales Department, as well as Jamie, and we're of city taxed, foreclosed, and surplus property. But we are supported by various other departments, and we work collaboratively on various processes, including community engagements. Those other departments, you can see here on the screen. For generally speaking, whenever we're talking about public sale of land, we do have to follow chapter general law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30B in particular, which establishes an advertised proposal process and by which the city must follow, as mentioned, with regards to acquiring and disposing real estate property. In this case, 24 Leston, with a greater value of 35,000. And doing so, we are required to conduct an open and fair competitive process where this places all proposers on commenting, soliciting information that will be manageable and meaningful comparison across the proposals. And so, and then we ultimately end with a construction of a building that's supported. Currently, we're at the public RFP planning meeting stage. We're not quite at the RFP stage yet. We are currently looking and seeking for feedback from the community on the future use of this particular site. There are going to be additional community touch points along the process that I do want to highlight. Not only will the community feedback be roped into the RFP, but once RFP is issued, once the responses come back, it will be presented to the community again for additional feedback before we move along into the designation of the developer, and they move into the due diligence and financing process. For those of you that don't know, some of the key elements of the RFP by community feedback, and then also number 4, the evaluation process and where we for each proposal in response to the RFP. Those evaluations criteria could include evaluating their development plan, their design concept, the application experience or the applicant experience and capacity, their financial capacity, their also the development cost feasibility, their diversity and inclusion plan, and if housing is part of the scope, what is their housing affordability plan for. Thank you all for just kind of bearing with me on that. Ultimately, we wanted to get to this part of the conversation where we talk about the goals and objectives of this particular discussion. And again, we are looking to gather input, as mentioned, from abutters, neighbors, and community members about what they would like to see on 24 Leston Street in particular. Feedback received at any community meeting during this community engagement process, along with the public comment period that follows, will inform the future RFP. And then as we gather that feedback, what that will do is establish the use guidelines for, in this case, 24 Leston Street. So, as mentioned earlier, just kind of the community touch points. As mentioned, we are gathering community feedback prior to the RFP release, where this is the current stage that we're in. And then once
Antonio, you're breaking up quite a bit.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, Jamie, we can hear you okay.
Do you want to try just run the slides, Antonio, and I'll try to speak to him? You are breaking up pretty bad. Okay, I'll take that as a yes.
Yes. Yes.
I think what we're trying to say here is we're looking for some initial feedback now to help shape the RFP, and then once we ultimately release an RFP and receive proposals, we'll conduct an initial review, and any eligible applicants that meet the criteria, we will invite them back out to present what they're proposing to the community, so we can get some additional feedback, and we'll incorporate that ultimately into the evaluation for a recommendation for designation. Next slide. So to get into the detail on the site, this is 24 Leston. Next slide. Oh, I think we're skipping ahead there. There we go.
Antonio, you're more than welcome to go off camera if that may help with your connectivity.
So this is the parcel, relatively modest sort of infill parcel in a residential neighborhood. As you can see from the photo here, it's kind of your classic triple decker context in the area. Single parcel. It's in a two-family zoning, although it looks like there's three families in the area as well. And 30, just under 3,200 square feet of area. There is also it's probably captured in this picture as well, but there is a second vacant parcel next to it that is privately owned. Next slide. So I think at this time, we really just wanted to open it up and listen to any feedback from the community as to this property. This is a residentially zoned parcel and in a residential area. We have heard some interest in doing a project here, a residential project. So, but we'd like to kind of hear feedback on what makes sense for the street, and just kind of open it up, and we'll continue to collect comments. If folks don't want to speak right now, are welcome to take this survey that's linked below, which we'll show again at the end of the presentation. And I think that's it. Anything you want to add to that, Antonio? Oh, I hear some just prompting questions, I guess. Any particular questions regarding the site? And again, we're happy to go back if there's anything you didn't catch during the initial presentation about the process. Anything in terms of the objectives for what should be on this site, in terms of the, design, the height, the open space, parking, anything that goes along with it, and anything that folks are particularly opposed to for the site, and any other general questions or comments. Let's see,
Jamie,
Antonio. Go ahead.
can you just say again, Antonio started to speak about the process. How long do we have to comment and give feedback?
Yeah, sure. So after this meeting, we'll open it up on our website. There's going to be a comment form there, and folks can respond through May 6th, which is, I guess, another month from now. And we'll incorporate any of those additional comments in addition to what we hear today into these guidelines.
Okay. I'm not sure if we have anyone on here from Leston Street, but Taylor, you have your hand up?
Yes, it looks like Leston Street. I couldn't really hear Antonio, but it looks like it's 3,188 square feet, which is right there. As far as zoning, is there another lot that abuts it that we're looking to add additional square footage for?
Yeah, there is a vacant lot next door. It is privately owned. We have heard from the owner that is interested in potentially incorporating the city lot. So if we issue an RFP, I do expect that there would be a proposal uh, that contemplates that, which is fine. But we do have to devise our own guidelines in consultation with the community, and that's what'll go in the RFP, regardless of what happens with the lot next door.
And has anybody from the city already spoken with the owner of, I believe, what is that, 26?
Is that the vacant lot?
Correct.
Yes, we've heard from the owner who's interested in doing a residential project.
Okay. I personally don't would we have enough multifamilies that have absent owners that don't even live in the state, let alone the city. And I would like to see a home ownership component, something 3,100 square feet is relatively small, and so it most likely would only get approved for a two-family, maybe through zoning, possible three. Um, that street doesn't have much parking, and so I don't see how they would be able to finagle additional parking spaces, but I would prefer more home ownership, whether it's the condos that are condoed out for home ownership or whether it's a two or three family that it is owner occupied. But I'm done with rentals in
Okay.
the neighborhood.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
I don't see any comments in the chat. Does anyone else have anything to add? Please reference the chat so you can access the link if you don't want to make a public comment at this moment. All right, Jamie, do you guys have anything else that you want to share?
I think just generally the timeline we're looking at here. Again, we're going to continue to collect the feedback. We're going to do that through the survey and any additional outreach we can do between now and May, and then ideally we'll develop some guidelines for an RFP to release late this spring or into the summer. I mean, and then. Uh, that'll typically be available for at least a month to 2 months, and then once we get proposals back, we'll reach back out to the neighborhood and let folks know and invite them to comment on the specific proposals that are submitted.
It looks like Chad did ask about um, the price point for these particular units, like what level of affordability is being considered.
Well, we always encourage affordability. That's kind of going to be dependent on the proposals that we get. If that is a preference in the neighborhood, we can certainly put that as a preference in the RFP. A lot of times it's really dependent on the individual proposal, the number of units that are being proposed. If this were to be a project that incorporated multiple parcels, that would factor in as well. But if that's a preference to incorporate affordability into the project, we'll certainly include that.
And just so we're clear, the parcel is for sale, right? The city is selling off the parcel?
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
How much is the parcel?
So what we do is we conduct an independent appraisal on each parcel, and I believe we do have that. I don't know the number off the top of my head. Maybe Antonio does, but we'll include that in the RFP as the baseline for an offer. We do have the ability to discount that if a public benefit is being offered as part of the project, such as, including affordable units.
Okay.
Oh,
Antonio,
sorry.
do you happen to know the value off the top of your head? I just don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, I don't. But I can circle back and email that after the meeting.
how's the price of these parcels even determined? I'm just really curious to learn about the process.
Sure. Yeah. So we contract with professional appraisal services, and they basically do comparatives. You know, they'll look for comparable sales in the neighborhood of vacant land that's, you know, suitable for residential development. They'll base their value on sort of what the zoning looks like, what could be put on the land. So in this instance, you know, probably 2 to 3 units for the one parcel is what they would contemplate. And that's how they come up with their figure.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
And this is
Thank you.
There's a link to our project website where the survey will be located. Please feel free to post your comments there. Would appreciate the more feedback, the better. And our direct contact information as well. Feel free to reach out. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jamie and Antonio. All right. Next up, we have Charles River Watershed Association. Is someone here? I don't know if it's Amelia. Okay, Amelia, you'll be okay.
Hi
Okay.
there,
Here,
yes.
and I know Amelia's here
Oh,
too.
and Joel's here too. Okay. All right.
Yes. Can we
Um,
give Amelia the ability to share her screen?
yes, she should be able to.
Okay.
Perfect. Just give me 1 second to power up this PowerPoint, and we will be ready to go.
So the Charles River Watershed Association is here to discuss the Canterbury Brook Restoration Project with Boston Nature Center.
Yes, thank you so much. Just wanted to start out by thanking you all very much for your time. I will try to give a brief overview of the project and then have some invitations for you folks as well to provide additional feedback on the project. So for those of you who have not heard of the restoration project that is going on in the Boston Nature Center, this is what the current state of Canterbury Brook looks like right now. Charles River Watershed Association's interest is really in cleaning up the extent of Canterbury Brook, which is a small portion of a larger underground system called the Stony Brook. Canterbury Brook, which is the portion that's above ground, runs from Harvard Street all the way down to the car wash, sort of parallel to the American Legion Highway. In this image, you'll see that there is a blue outline, and that is the watershed for Canterbury Brook. So that's based on the topography of the land, so you know the gravity of what is flowing into the brook, and also the underground stormwater network. So all of this land right here is what is draining into the brook. And then around that, you'll see some photos of its current state. As you can see, it's pretty polluted, and it's also quite hidden, right? There's not a lot of great public access to view this small waterway. So there are sort of two parallel projects occurring that involve the Charles River Watershed Association. The first and most concrete is the MVP grant that the City of Boston has received with the Boston Nature Center and Charles River Watershed Association. This MVP grant is dedicated to rerouting Canterbury Brook into the existing wetland that's right in the Boston Nature Center, as well as hopefully purchasing the parcel across from the Boston Nature Center, which is Morton Street. Currently, that parcel is owned by the state. It is defunct. There's no use for it. So the hope is to turn that into a stormwater wetland complex. And the engineering goal for this project is to reduce flooding, right? We've seen a lot of images and videos that folks have sent us that are showing that Morton Street is a real problem. It seems like Joel, please chime in here. There's been a lot of basement flooding. People
Yeah.
need to, yeah.
Yeah, I always, Amelia, she always laughs. I always say, it shouldn't be a requirement to own a sump pump to live in this area, right? Like that nice hum of the sump pump after every rainstorm shouldn't be the norm. And our sump pumps are getting used more and more. So a big part of this project is improving the water table of the entire area. And as our projects go on, we've noticed that the more we do with these tributaries and waterways, we improve the water table of the entire city of Boston. So, in the past, they didn't fully understand what they were doing when they were rerouting and concreting out these waterways, but now we do, and we're trying to work back. We're not trying to work backwards, we're trying to work with nature. That's the best way to say.
Yes, I think that that's a very good point. This stormwater wetland is a piece of real engineering, and it is meant to provide a real flooding solution that is nature-based. If you've ever been to the Alewife Brook wetland, it is a beautiful, accessible park that people spend a lot of time at, but it is also treating and retaining a bunch of stormwater for the city of Cambridge. And Mattapan is a real potential to do something similar, provide a green, open nature space while also dealing with the issue of persistent flooding and treat the water at the same time. So just to be clear about where we are in this timeline, the MVP grant was for a feasibility study. So we're still very early, still trying to figure out if this is possible and what it would look like. And we were also invited to be doing some community work at the same time so that we could get folks in really early on the ground floor and ask, well, there's this engineering design, but what do you want the features of this wetland to look like? What pathways, what places to interact with it would be most beneficial to the community? I'll touch base a little bit more on exactly how we are collecting that feedback and ways that you can concretely join us for that in just a moment. The other sort of parallel track that is occurring in Greater Mattapan is that Charles River Watershed Association, as we work on this engineering project, also want to think more holistically about Canterbury Brook, right? One project is not going to solve the persistent issue of flooding. It's probably not going to completely and holistically clean up the brook. So using the data and the information that we're already learning from people as we talk to them about this stormwater wetland, we would also really like to learn about other sites and possibilities for future projects. And all of that information is going to be compiled into a watershed-wide visioning plan. So we would take the community data that we receive and also do some technical analysis, things like phosphorus loading, land use, and combine that and pinpoint areas where we say, hey, it looks like a lot of community members say that this park is a really great opportunity, and we also think that the topography is right. And then we would use that information to encourage the city or the landowner to work with them to find funding and actually implement these projects on the ground. The image that you see before you is an example of that, which is done in Newton. So you can see a similar black outline that shows the watershed. And each of those little colored dots is a different project that we identified as a potential intervention. And the image, the rendering that you see all the way to the right of the screen is actually being implemented currently. So this brook used to be completely mowed lawn, and it is now getting stormwater retention and native plantings. So it's going to be a beautiful interactive site while also doing work to treat the water that's coming into it and hopefully prevent some of the ongoing flooding that's occurring in the brook.
Right. And as Amelia's talking there, I saw the question about the MBTA access. And this is why what Amelia's the visioning process, as we saw the name Newton, and usually these projects with these visions are saved for those areas. But we're really passionate about hearing the voice of the people of Mattapan, of the people of this area, so they can inform our decisions on and our advocacy. Right? We don't want to come to the table and think we know everything about this area. That's why we need you to be Amelia will tell you, we need you to be a part of our focus groups and our other community groups, because we just don't want it to come from us. That's why we've been doing door knocking. We've been doing events at Shebu, BNC, to really get out there and hear from you guys. And so I know the next slide, you'll hear more about it, but definitely, yeah, the MBTA part, we want to hear about that so we can add that to our visioning.
Yeah, absolutely. The information that we have and the technical skills that we have are a small part of the puzzle, right? CRWA, we have the time and resources to do the site assessments and the technical data, but that is absolutely useless without the information that you have, which is what sites are important, what do you want to see out of them, and what are the problem areas. We don't know that information, and it would be inappropriate and not useful for us to come up with a vision without working very directly with the people who live and work and commute in this area. So just a few next steps really concretely about the MVP project specifically and what that's going to look like. So this year, we're doing some initial surveying. We have an engineering team. They're going to do a bunch of site assessments. They're also going to start looking into permitting, right? We're hoping that the city or some other entity will purchase that Morton Street parcel from the state. And that's going to allow us to actually implement the project. And then we're also going to be, as a secondary touch point, doing some project office hours throughout the year so that we have touch points with folks in addition to the focus groups that are coming up that I will speak to in just a moment. Next year, we have just applied for additional funds to continue this work. So if funded, what that's going to look like is additional update meetings. These would be largely informational just to get people up to speed on where the project is exactly. And then additional focus groups and or a design workshop. So that's going to be a secondary place where we're going to have at this point more information and a more concrete engineering level understanding of the site. And we will have a second round of, okay, now that we understand our constraints even better or what the site is going to look like, let's refine the concepts that we've come up with in the first stage of focus groups or to really get down to the nitty-gritty of what this site is going to look like. We are also going to be publishing a project booklet. That's going to be readable information about the site so that folks can have access to exactly the information that we do and what we're looking at. Hopefully, we're going to have some project renderings so that you can visualize what the site will look like. There will be additional site surveying, and then there will be a 30% design. So that's for next year. You are very early in this process, so you might have questions that I won't be able to fully answer, but that's because it was very important to have input right from the start from community members so it could shape the project as it moved forward in its entirety.
Yeah,
so
just real quick,
sorry, Joel.
Our lack of answers isn't because of like knowledge or something like it's because we don't want to know that without your input. So I just want to emphasize what Amelia is saying that there, right? When it comes to certain things we don't know. So that's very important.
Yeah, so we are still very early. And this is all to say that we really would like to partner with the folks on this call. So that can look like a couple of things. We would love to get people involved with sampling. We need information about the brook, and it would be very helpful to have folks sample water. You can also join us for family-friendly events, community meetings, sidewalks, and art activation. We will hopefully be providing this group, along with others, with more concrete information and dates very soon, but we will be sorry, Taylor, I see your hand up.
I can wait until you're done talking. I just wanted
Okay, perfect. I'm almost done, and then I will get right back to you. Thank you. I appreciate it. We will be doing an art activation at the Boston Nature Center. All of these events are designed to be child-friendly, while still contributing information to the project, so that everyone can join us. And then finally, and most concretely, we would really love for participants on this call to join us at our focus groups. Focus group participants will be compensated $100 for attendance. It is a 2-hour time block. We have 2 opportunity windows, April 15th and April 23rd. There's a QR code that you can scan for more information and to sign up. Your information is extremely valuable. It is data. It is important. We do want to make sure that you're compensated, you will be fed. And what this is going to do is provide a more detailed project scope and update. And then we will talk specifically about concrete aspects of features that you would want to see in this project. So that can be anything from what kind of signage do you like to what kind of access points do you want to the Boston Nature Center, or even what is the general vision that you might have for the site. So I will drop a link to that in the chat, as well as providing this QR code. And then if you have any questions, I will also provide my email address. Please feel free to follow up. We really appreciate your time and would love if you could all join us. Taylor, I wanted to just circle back to you.
Thank you so much for your time. I worked very closely with Dr. Tia Martin on the Mystic River project, and
Oh, wow.
I think they did an amazing job when it came to equity and when it came to the research behind the work that they did. And so I'm wondering if there's any partnership there, or at least any communication to see best practices that can be shared.
Yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, the Mystic River Watershed Association and us do work together and collaborate. So I have actually met with several members of the Mystic, as well as their consultant at the time, who also assisted with some of the community engagement on the project. Have had the opportunity to learn with them, and are also going to be implementing a couple of the activities and sort of runs of shows that they had that were successful in our own processes. Our processes are going to maybe be a little bit different, just because of the tight timing, as well as who the project partners are and what the constraints are. But yes, we've had the opportunity to work with them, and they have helped us sort of shape that engagement process a little bit.
Thank you for that.
Of course, yeah.
Also, I put my email in the chat. We're trying to compile, and if anyone has, I would love to hear if anyone has any stories or feedback about the Boston Nature Center, or just overall the area that we're trying to work on. Would love to hear any stories about that, just to add into some of the write-ups that we're trying to do, and for grants and for publications that we're trying to do. So my email is in the chat. If you have any of that, please reach out. I would love just to interview you for a couple of minutes. We really want to emphasize this enough. We want this to be community-led, and not just people from outside, but people that are directly impacted by the project itself. We do want more outside space. We know that's important, and we want more green space. And so we've worked with a lot of different groups to make sure that everyone's heard and resources are being used effectively.
I have a question. Are you looking for input prior to April 15th, or will the questionnaire, the survey that you have up, be available for how long? Because I'm just wondering if we have this information, we could post it to our GMNC website. So that's why.
Yes, absolutely. The survey to the left, that's in both English and Haitian Creole, that is up perpetually. It will not get taken down until the completion of the project. The other QR code for the April 15th and 23rd dates, for signing up for focus groups, we would be more than happy to have um, in the newsletter, and I can provide a link that might be a little bit easier to share digitally in the chat.
Thank you.
Of course,
Really
yeah.
appreciate that posting also.
Yes,
That's really
thank you
helpful.
so much for doing that.
Yeah, really, like, yeah. And thank you for letting us in this meeting too. Like, we really don't want this to come from us. We want this to come from you. So like, the more feedback you give us, the more data, the more you influence the project.
And you guys are welcome to come back, throughout the process to give an update, or if you're looking for more feedback, you're more than welcome to return.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yes.
Chad, I see your hand up.
Yes. I wanted to ask this question. I don't know if you guys are far enough in the project to even answer this, but I'll ask anyway. Just if you could tell me, how will improvements in water quality and flood control translate into measurable health or environmental benefits for residents, here in Mattapan and even the surrounding communities?
That is a fantastic question.
It is.
I don't have measurable data for you about the impact or the size of impact of this specific project yet, but I can speak a little bit more generally about the general benefits and effects, if that's helpful.
Yeah, sure.
So a stormwater wetland's main goal is to take water that is coming in from, the streets, right, and hold it. And the hope for holding this water is that it doesn't spread to places like your basements, your homes, right? The streets. Places where we don't want that water to be in a rainstorm, or places where then you as a private citizen would have to mitigate it. Now, I'm not going to say that your basement will never flood again, or that no one in the general area of Mattapan will ever have to privately pay to have water vacuumed out of their basement. But that is a very direct cost that you personally absorb when these issues happen, when our impermeable surfaces are too much. The water goes somewhere, and it's usually your basement or the lowest point in any given area. So that is a very direct effect that a homeowner or a renter will personally feel. And then from an ecological standpoint, this project is hoping to transform a parcel to something that is ecologically beneficial. So native plantings, trees, etc., while also providing access to green space that has been designed by the community. So places to gather, places to be, shade. Mattapan also suffers from pretty significant urban heat island effect because it is so paved, and there are fewer trees than other areas in Boston. So some of that effect would also be mitigated.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Chad,
and then all of these projects will be carbon mitigating factors also, which would just help us overall with the fight climate change also.
Okay. Thank you both. Is there anything else you would like to add before we move on?
No, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And I will drop additional information into the chat for you all.
Yeah, and anyone's interested, please reach out.
Thank you. I know up next is Danielle or anyone from Spark FM on just yet? Is Danielle here, Spark FM? No? Okay. So we are going to move on to the 1576 Blue Hill Ave project. Is Mike Ross or Solomon on? Who's going to speak to that project?
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Ross. We are here. I'm here with Solomon. I'm here with Alfonso, and I do have a brief presentation.
Okay, go ahead. You should be able to share your screen.
Thank you so much. We were here last month, and I want to apologize to the group. We did not. Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council put together a phenomenal letter for this project. I've been doing this a long time, and it was thoughtful, and it had great value. This is the letter. These are all the items that were recommended in the letter. It was an excellent letter, and we did not come prepared at the last meeting, having digested the letter, having made changes to our plan based on the letter. And, we fell short, way short of what I would like to see. Now, this is an as-of-right project, but that doesn't mean we can't consider what the neighborhood is saying when we can consider it. And there is so much in this letter that we should have considered and we now have considered. And I just want to say that thank you for putting this together. Again, I apologize on behalf of the team for not showing up last month with these ideas baked into our plan. We spent the last several weeks changing our plan to accommodate basically this communication because we all thought it was very good. And anyway, I want to share with you what those changes are. They're changes that you requested. We were basically hit all of them. To the extent we didn't hit some of them, it's more because it's a future thing. And once we get construction level drawings and work with the other agencies like Boston Water and Sewer and some of the other ones, we actually might be able to hit them. But these are things that we can commit to right now. These are things that we can incorporate into the plans. And yeah, we did incorporate the majority of the comments. So, if you weren't here last time, I think you'll quickly pick up on kind of where we are now. But basically, one of the things that we were asked to do is, look, can you step back the project closest to the street? I'm just trying to minimize this because I can't see my own screen. Closest to the street, so that it meets heights of other nearby buildings, which by the way are transitioning in their own right, but it steps back so that at the sidewalk level, you can see on the right, at the sidewalk level, it doesn't feel like such a hulking building coming over on top of the sidewalk. Even though the sidewalk is a substantial setback now, you can see the sidewalk is actually a good portion of it is the private property itself. Still, on the left is that hulking mass right onto the sidewalk. On the right was one of the comments to introduce a step back at the third or fourth floor to reduce the perceived height of the building. And there that is. We were asked to break the facade into legible vertical bays. What we did here is we introduced more kind of structural non-window elements into the front facade to try to accomplish that point. We were asked to strengthen the ground floor expression, durable framing and masonry base. So what you have on the left here, the old plan that we appeared last month with, these are all what they refer to as rain screen. It's like a composite, almost a metal type of facade treatment that goes all the way up from the top of the building to the bottom of the building. The point in the letter, I mean, beautifully articulated at that, was, hey, put a stone at the bottom of the building closest to where pedestrians pass. It's an excellent suggestion. On the right, you see brick material along the bottom of the structure to capture that comment. We were asked to provide multiple entries for the retail. Here you have the retail on the left. It's just a single retail entry onto like a very large, what was that, 1,400, not super large, but a fairly large, certainly frontage wise, retail space. And so here we did that. We broke it into two. It kind of creates a nice little breaking of the pedestrian experience, so that it's not just a long wall and then an opening, but rather an opening and then another opening. So that we have two retail spaces here now. And then the other comment was, creating these recessed entries. We were just swinging right out onto the street, even though it was on our private land. Here we have these recessed elements. Very good suggestion, something we incorporated. There were some other comments about creating, like a more like structural elements, more framing elements at this lower level, at the retail level. And you can see them, they're represented here in this kind of lighter green, but this is intended to be some sort of metal, some sort of iron type, thicker kind of element to create some heft at the bottom, as opposed to just this kind of, rain screen window kind of, lighter treatment that you had here, creating a little bit more, I guess heft is what I'd refer it to. There was a request to show more of the, that the tree canopy can expand onto the sidewalk. So we're showing that here. We have our widened sidewalks because we're stepping back from our own property line there. But we are also asked to look at look at crossings and whether or not a bus shelter could be accommodated here. And that is something we'll commit to do, working with BTD as a part of the project. We were asked to integrate permeable paving. It was very appropriate from the last comments. The last presentation talking about the watershed, having allow water to go back into the ground. On the left, this is what was proposed. There was some permeability, of course, but we think we have an opportunity to do more. And so the plan here is to take all of our hardscape and create permeability, permeable pavers, etc., and that we would work with Boston Water and Sewer regarding those details. We are asked to create coherent window groupings. Here on the left, you can see it's a little bit of a mishmash. Here on the right, there was an effort to try to coordinate the windows, the doors, the balconies, and just make it a little bit more rhythmic, make a little bit more sense. And there was a request to shift the color scheme of the building itself. We were, in addition to that base, that masonry, to look at the upper floors and create something that's more reflective of the Neponsit and maybe of a tree canopy. Again, these were all comments included in this letter, and so we changed the color pattern of the building itself, and we think it will look much better in person. So we also have some views that we want to share with you. And this was another comment, and you shouldn't have to request this. This is something that we should have shown up with, but it was a fair comment. Hey, show us how this building looks in our community, next to existing structures. Now, who knows how long this bakery is going to stay a one-story retail building as it is here, but this is how it fits. And with that new setback, it actually creates this context of, you can imagine what this is going to feel like passing by. And here are some other views. This is from driving by Blue Hill Avenue. I think this is a great view, showing these kind of, staccato of these balconies off the back, and just really kind of an interesting view of the building itself. This is what it would look like driving up Blue Hill Avenue as you look to the right. Here are some more views of the building from different sides, different angles. We were asked what would it look like at night? So this is what it would look like at night. That's that, driving up Blue Hill Avenue shot I mentioned. And that's, the different angles that you can see it. I think that's all I had, but I think it's very important that we came back to tell you that the building is completely different, and we're submitting these new plans to BPDA or Boston Planning. And it's really based on the letter that you guys wrote. And we appreciate what you did. We appreciate, what you guys do. And we're glad we were able to capture your comments. So, that's really all we had. We just want to come back and close the loop. And thank you for your input. I'll pause there and see if there are any comments.
Fatima, before you go, there are 2 questions in the chat, maybe 3. Where are people parking and pulling out of is a question that's asked in the chat.
Yeah, that all stayed the same. We still have I think we're looking at 12 parking spaces. There are 4 spaces with 3 with lifters on them. This is really intending to be not a big parking generator. We think the people that would want to be staying in these units would not have cars, because really there's nowhere to put your cars. You can put your car in the street if you want, but it's just not very convenient. So this does not have a big garage. It's allowed us to keep the pricing of this building, and it's also the direction that we get from, the city of Boston. There's a lot of pushing back on some of the parking minimums. It's just a kind of a new day with that whole thing. So the rules of just a couple of years ago, where you have to have a certain number of parking spaces per unit, those no longer exist. There's a new kind of, way of looking at that when you build buildings with parking, you create more cars. So, there's not a lot of cars with this project, or there's not a lot of parking with this project. One of the ideas, though, was to try to create shared cars with those few cars that we do have. Those would be like shared cars that you would log in. You'd be able to use the car for a few hours and you'd log it back out. That is something we're seeing more and more of in projects. So it's something that we're looking at now.
Okay. And can you just share the specifics regarding the type of residential units these are?
These are rentals. Yeah, I heard earlier about home ownership. We understand that. The developer, Solomon Charteris, is doing home ownership in other parts of the cities. This was not one of the projects that we could do home ownership with, mostly because of where the interest rates are, the size of the building, and in order to get it out of the ground, it's just not going to work as like a condominium building. Also, condominium buildings, frankly, would have to have probably more parking as well. So this building is a rental.
Okay. And then there's another question. What mechanisms are in place to ensure that commitments made in this revised design are actually followed through during construction?
Well, you can hold us to it. I mean, these plans are being resubmitted to the BPDA. There will be a board meeting, there will be a board memo, there will be a vote. I mean, we're going to do all the things we're saying we're going to do. And we're happy to, provide you with any backup you need, and I can work with your group to make sure you get that backup.
And how soon are you guys looking to start construction?
I mean, it would be great if we started right away. I don't know if that's likely. Solomon, are you even available? I mean, I think he's picking up his daughter right at this exact moment. We didn't realize that we're going to be on for so long. So if you are, come on. But I don't think this project is, if I had to guess, I mean, we still are a good 6 months away. Best case scenario, we have to get the construction level drawings put into place, and we're not even approved yet on this project. So I would say we would be 6 months in the best case scenario. That would bring us to the October, November. Most likely, this is a first start, first quarter 2027. Absolute best case scenario, and it would take a good 16 to 18 months to build something like this.
Well, I think, Mike, I speak for a lot of people who have questions about staying in the community, folks that live here. So it'd be great if you could come back once you guys are ready to start renting out the units and share information with the community so that those who live here that are in need of housing could apply for these rentals.
Will do. Thank you for that. We'd love to come back.
All right, Fatima, Barbara, and then Taylor, and that's it. We're gonna end the discussion after Taylor.
Yeah, Ruth Georges wants to ask a question. I'm gonna let her ask instead of myself.
Well, is her hand raised?
She tried to, but it didn't let her.
Okay.
Ruth, if you'd like to raise your hand.
Or if she wants to use the chat, maybe she's having issues. Everyone's having issues tonight. Okay, I'll come back. Miss Barbara?
Hi. My biggest problem that I have with the development is because it's in the business district. When you have that many units and you're not providing enough parking, the businesses that are there already will have an issue of parking on Blue Hill Avenue, the churches that have the large parking in the area. I think that's going to be one of the biggest problems because you can't say, well, we've got the apartment, but they can't have a car. They're going to have a car. And my biggest, like I said, you're coming right into the business district of Mattapan Square. We've been trying for a while to make sure we had a business district, and a project like this will just kick it to the curb because nobody's going to want to park or even open up a business in the district, in the area. So I'm really against the development because of that reason. And I mean, it looks like a great project, but somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Barbara. Mike, how many units are here again?
58.
58. Okay. Taylor, you're next.
So city councilor Mike Ross, I was a huge fan. The 58 and 12, I follow everybody else's logic. This just doesn't make sense for me. So I'm wondering if there's a way to elevate the commercial space up a level, like a George Jetson type situation, so we can add additional parking below and then have an elevator to then allow you to lead to the commercial space and then to the residential.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to pretend that parking's the number one issue on every project I've ever been involved with. Every time, it just is, and it's a gut reaction that people get with it, and they want to see their parking, and I get it. I totally get it. Look, of course, you could put parking in any building. You always could. The thing is that first of all, we're being encouraged not to put parking in buildings. I mean, it's just public policy. It's kind of the way things are going today. And I'm not sure it's the worst idea either, because when you add all these parking spaces, you get cars. But 12 to 58, I think we're at the maximum of what we can put in this building. We think with the 58 people who are going to move into this, many of them will be residents already of the community. You see a lot of people want to downsize, go into these smaller units, maybe sell their home, their larger one-family home, their larger two-family home. You see a lot of home ownership in Mattapan. So you'll see a lot of new customers who will be wanting to shop in the nearby business district, including in the two shops that are going to be below this building. Will be continuing the retail kind of experience up Blue Hill Ave. But I don't think we're going to be able to get more parking in there. I'd love to say yes to you and appreciate the nice words, but I think this one is a low parking project, unfortunately.
So are you prioritizing applicants that don't have a vehicle? So I'm thinking when it comes to the night's perfectly fine because no one's utilizing the commercial space and they'll have plenty of street parking at night. But during the day, that corridor is already taking up 2 lanes for double parking.
Yeah.
And so that's a really big question for me. And then the 12 vehicles that are parking, are, are people going to get tickets if they end up parking there instead of double parking on Blue Hill Ave?
Yeah, I mean, it's not for, you really can't get, the public wouldn't want to park there. It just seems like it wouldn't make sense. Um, are we targeting people that don't have cars? In a way, we are, because the building just really doesn't have parking. And the price of the building, when you add parking into a building, the cost is just higher. I mean, I think the number is $50,000 that I hear, the extra per, and the closer you get to downtown, the more that number increases. So, adding $50,000 per unit, 50,000 times 58, you start to add a lot of cost to a project. We're able to build this building and rent this building at a lower cost point because there isn't parking. Those underground parking spaces or even first level parking spaces are not cheap. They're very expensive.
Thank you, Mike. Ruth? Are you still having issues,
Yes.
Ruth?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. I had to log back in. I'll make this quick. I have a couple questions. My first question is there a reason that condos are not an option for this project?
Yeah, there's a reason, and it has to do with just making the numbers work. This project will not pencil out, will not work as a home ownership project. It just won't. It has to do with where the interest rates are right now. Now that could change. This is the kind of project that could be converted to a condominium building. It happens. It happens all over the city of Boston. You do see those condo conversions. Typically, you see that happening when the interest rates go down, when the rental market starts to decrease. You see a lot of condo conversion happen, and it's a kind of a cyclical thing. But where we are right now in 2026, this project is not a good candidate for it, unfortunately, because I know people do like home ownership, and generally that's a good thing. But this is also creating housing, also putting housing on the market, and new housing, new quality housing, and it still is needed, as is the home ownership as well.
So the conversion is not something I've seen happen in Mattapan. Maybe that happens in other parts of the city, as you mentioned. I don't know if you have examples of how that happens here, so I'm not going to say it's never happened, but once something is built as a rental, it usually stays a rental in our neighborhood. And so I only bring up the question around home ownership because that is a priority for our neighborhood. We have quite a bit of rental stock. And so I'll leave that there. But the other question I have is about the commercial. I missed it. How many commercial spots are at the bottom?
Well, now 2, as opposed to the 1 that was there previously.
And how are you guys going to work to ensure that can we get some commitments around you guys working with Main Streets to ensure that those businesses, there's an opportunity given to local businesses that are here, that are looking for a location, and that retail is bringing in new types of businesses and they're not bringing in the existing businesses that are here, because we very much do not want the same businesses to get this space. And we would like that in writing, but we'll hear this and the next thing you know, we see a nail salon. And that is just, it's infuriating.
Yeah, we'd love to work with Main Streets. I think that's a very fair request, and we're happy to put that in writing.
Okay, my last comment, Pam, and then I'm off my soapbox. Is the building itself? Is there still opportunity to think about the use of color? I'm just being mindful of the neighborhood that we're in, the buildings that are around, and it's a little stoic. And I just wanted to see if there was an opportunity to think about some vibrancy when we look at the colors of the actual building itself.
Yeah, I mean, we took our best shot. kind of going with some of the comments that were in the letter, but we still have to go through design review with this thing after we get approved, and design review is where you have those conversations. So, if you want to, color is very subjective. Everyone's going to have an opinion, but I think what we can do there for that piece is ask that Boston Planning work with us on creating a palette that is meets the demand and the expectations of the community during the design review phase, right? You already have the building, you already have the massing, you already know what you're putting there. You already, now you're talking about what's the color going to be and those kind of details. That's perfect for design review. And we're happy to do that, to get it right.
All right, Tanya.
Hi, guys. So my question is, I know that parking is going to be an issue, but is there a simpler, residential parking that could be essentially assisting those who are renting with vehicles? And then my second question is, would a project like this create gentrification in such an urban part of the city? Because some people do feel like these new structures kind of, because they're so expensive, it'll push a lot of those who already live here out and bring in other people who can actually afford to live there. So do my questions make sense, or is it kind of all over the place?
No, your questions make a lot of sense. For the parking, we're like I said, we're talking about maybe doing like a shared parking because there's so few spaces. This might be a good candidate for like a car share, where the people of the building share the car. It's happening in other buildings. It's something that we looked at. The gentrification. I was recently in a building. It was in Mattapan. It was a new building. It was like Mattapan Dorchester line, right off of Hannon Street. New building there. Someone will remember. I think it was in the 300 something. It was like more. I think Morton. And I walked in because there was a community meeting.
With the block with block
Rock.
that meeting.
Yeah, Rock, the Rock Neighborhood Association.
Yeah.
Great group. We went in there on a different project, not this one. And I took the guy walking me in was working. He was the guy from the building. He was working for the building. I asked him, because I ask everyone, I'm like, who lives here? And how many units are left? He said all but 2 units are remaining. And he said most of the people came from the community who were living in that building. And there was some home ownership, but there were a lot of rentals. It's interesting. I've never seen a mixed building like that, which is part home ownership and part rentals, but this one was. And it's true. A lot of the people that were in that meeting were living in that building, and a lot of people who were living in that building were from Mattapan. They were downsizing and they were living in these units. So that's a great example of just housing opportunities going to people who live in the neighborhood. Does that create some level of gentrification? It might, but it also created opportunities, new housing opportunities for people who are living in the neighborhood. Then those people were able to, sell their units and on it goes. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it was a great building. It's a five-story building, and they did a nice job. I don't know if anyone's been over there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there another, Pam, are you still on?
Sorry. Mike, Ruth had another question. So the parking that's for the community, that's for the building, the limited parking that you have, whatever spaces, however many spaces you have, that's residential, right? That's for the folks who live in the building, or is that for the commercial?
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Yeah, no, I think it's for residential because there's so few. Yeah.
Okay. Ruth, I think I answered your last question. We have to move on.
Okay. Okay, that
Okay.
wasn't my last question, but okay.
Okay.
Hey,
And the
thanks,
building.
everyone. Appreciate the
Thank you.
opportunity.
All right, Fatima.
Oh, no, I don't have any questions. I can ask anything offline.
No,
And
no,
since
I'm
of-
not.
and since
Are
of
you ready
time,
to, are you ready to take over the next part, or do you want me to keep moving?
you can keep moving. You're doing
All
great.
right, we have any city and state elected officials? I thought I saw someone from Councilor Pepin's office, Councilor Worrell's office. Let's start with Pepin's office.
Hello, everyone. Diana Bronchek here from Councilor Pepin's office. Just getting my camera on. Yes, perfect. Hi, everybody. Diana Bronchek here. She, her pronouns. It's been a busy time in the office. I personally just came back from a leave, so forgive me. I don't have a lot of big updates, but the biggest update is we are officially going to be in budget season. As of this Wednesday, the mayor will be dropping her operating budget for FY27 as well as the capital plans projects for the next 5 years. So we know it's going to be tight. We know it's going to be a tough budget season. I see Rep. Luca Reed on. We'll probably be talking a ton about the state budget. It's just, we all know that it's coming, and we all know that there's going to be some hard decisions that are going to be made. And trust me when I say we're not looking forward to it, but we are looking forward to the conversations and to see where we can help and where we can make the dollar stretch as far as it possibly can. So the upcoming hearing schedule for budget has not been confirmed yet. That will be confirmed hopefully by end of business Wednesday, if not definitely by the end of this week. And we will gladly share that out. Tomorrow night, we are doing a virtual town hall with Councilor Weber, who is the chair of Ways and Means, to talk about budget specifically for District 5, but really just to go over the process more in detail. I will drop the link to that in the chat. Otherwise, we are looking forward to warmer weather, looking forward to being more outside, and yeah, happy to answer any quick questions folks have.
Diana, we did not, I don't think Councilor Pepin's office did a great job at sharing information about the virtual meeting tomorrow. I just wanted to just share that. It would be great if, in the future, at least if GMNC received those notifications, we can send it out on our end. But I just found out about this meeting over the weekend.
Yep, my apologies for that. It was not confirmed until it wasn't confirmed until last week for a variety of reasons, but I do hear that, and I will make that note to us for the future. I come from an event planning background, and I was more like there should always be at least 2 weeks, ideally 3 weeks for advertising and marketing for things, but unfortunately we had some other outside factors that kept us from doing that. But I do hear that.
Thank you. Thank you for your update.
Of course. I do see Chad's hand is raised. I don't know if that's a question directed towards me or not.
It is actually. It is. I've been attending two meetings. I know the state. I know well, the Ways and Means, the state Ways and Means Committee has been having public meetings, and like I said, I've been to two. I don't know how many, but one. Yeah, I went to the one here at the Mattapan Library, and I also went to one that was in Central Mass. So when it comes time for city council to have their meeting, regarding the budget, like I'm just, yeah, how closely is the city or how closely are city officials communicating with the state when it comes to like what's going to be budgeted for X, Y, Z, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously there's a lot, the state, it's two separate entities, it's two separate budgets. And our budget, the city's budget's mostly based off of property taxes. That's mostly paying for obviously salaries and supplies and whatnot. Are you asking in terms of like capital projects and what gets earmarked?
Yeah, that's really what
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm.
Yeah. So I mean that is more honestly like hate to throw Rep. Kruger Reed and Rep. Holmes under the bus, but you guys do so much work with battling for those earmarks, and we are eternally grateful for that. I don't even know what the process is, but I know it involves a late night, all-nighter situation at the State House. But we do work closely with our state rep colleagues to see, like, is this something that you guys can work on? Because budget's tight for the city and it's a DC, or if it's DCR land or any type of state-run land, it usually involves a lot more of what our state colleagues are able to get first, and then be like, if we are able to get this money, is this what we've heard from constituents? Is this what you've heard too? If not, then we'll run for something else. So that's not a good answer, and I do apologize to you, Chad. But it is much more of the opportunity that we can get.
Thank you, Diana.
Okay.
I thought we saw Angela from Councilor Worrell's office.
Yes, you did. I'm trying to get my camera on. Hi, everyone. So I'll be quick because we're getting late. So the council filed a hearing order to explore the creation of more indoor playgrounds across the city of Boston because he feels like our kids deserve safe, affordable places to play year round. So that's the order that he put in and waiting for a hearing. Hearing should be hopefully next week or sometime soon. He had a community hearing about Blue Hill Ave, and his goal is to continue advocating for safety improvements along Blue Hill Ave that reflect community input, prioritizing crosswalks, lighting, bus stop upgrades, and traffic comment over center running bus lanes. So these are the things that he's advocating for, along with Culpeper, because both districts overlap, so they're both working together. And he's also have an order in around displacement plan, doing a lot of work around that. He wants to advance anti-displacement strategy in partnership with Action for Equity and others. The plan focuses on neighborhoods like Roxbury, Dorchester, Mission Hill, Mattapan, and East Boston. What he's trying to do is reinvest new development tax revenue and take that money and bring it into more housing, workforce, and infrastructure. And these are just part of the neighborhood that has like high risk of displacement. So like the Fairmont Line corridor in Mattapan, that would be the area that he'll be focusing on. And my good friend just talked about the budget, so I'm going to stop there. So those are the 3 items that is working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Council Worrell here. Also just want to add about the budget. The budget comes out or is released this week, and we will be diving into the budget, both BPS and also the operating budget, to kind of get an understanding of not only the revenue side of things, but also expenses. So we are looking forward to that conversation. And the other thing that I'll throw out there is we are having a hearing tomorrow at 2 p.m. around protocols around camera and dash camera footage. Everyone may or may not know about the Stephen King shooting that happened about a month ago, and we're looking to have established protocols on when and what incidences does the city and BPD release camera footage, and if not, I'm just trying to create a level of transparency on timeline around police involved shootings or police involved injuries. And that hearing is happening tomorrow at 2 p.m. We're just trying to, again, strengthen our police accountability and transparency work that have taken place throughout the years.
The council also had, this is the last one, he also did an order for a hearing to examine diversity and representation within the Boston Fire Department. I don't know if there's a hearing coming up soon for that, including leadership positions. So that's an order he filed for a hearing around diversity in the fire department, Boston Fire Department. That's it for us.
Thank you, Councilor Angela. I see Rep. Holmes is on. Do you have any updates for us?
Can I defer to Rep. Reed? I'm in the middle of a meeting.
I think he passed it to me. I don't know. His audio went super
Oh,
speedy.
yeah, I couldn't hear. Okay.
I think he was, yeah. Hi, good evening, GMNC. Kenya, I'm sorry. I see your hand up. Is that from Councilor Royale's office, or I don't want to?
No, I just have an acknowledgement, but I could wait till everybody's updates are done.
Okay. Appreciate you, Kenya. Hello, happy April. Hope everyone had a great Easter holiday if they celebrate it. Many updates because we have been very busy on Beacon Hill. First and foremost, Governor Healy released her budget for FY27, really focused on affordability, invested in housing, transportation, and education, as well as healthcare, and built on programs like free school meals and free community college up until age 26, I believe, and childcare support. There are two provisions in her budget, which are pieces of legislation that I've been fighting for at the State House. One is lots of funding around the maternal health law, which we passed last legislative session, and there are dire detriments to Black women in particular with their maternal health. So that was great to see that investment there. The other thing is a bill that I filed this legislative session, which focused on the practice that Massachusetts is the only state in the entire country that does this, where we suspend people's driver's license when they can't afford to pay their fines and fees, like Easy Pass tolls, for example, which makes it harder for families to stay on track and support themselves. So in her budget, the governor abandoned and abolished that practice for Massachusetts to try to help with equity and ensure that families can stay on their feet. The other thing is we passed several pieces of legislation since the last time this body has met. One bill that we passed on the House side is a bill to crack down on AI-generated misinformation, particularly in political ads. So now we require on the House side clearer disclosure so voters actually know what they're looking at to heading into elections. The other thing the House passed is a major energy bill, vote 128 to 27, so that taxpayers and residents here in Massachusetts can save over $9 billion in utility bills over the next decade. It's not $9 billion in 1 year, but some of the things is to cut some spending that was less than equitable and not used or managed in the best way, return some environmental payments directly to customers, and also going after predatory energy suppliers, which we in Mattapan, I was talking to the city of Boston, have some of the highest predatory third-party energy suppliers in the entire state. So now that bill is headed to the Senate. Also, we did a supplemental budget, which, if y'all remember, the millionaire's tax, which was a ballot initiative a couple years ago. And so that allows for revenue when we tax millionaires at a higher rate to go to both education and transportation needs. And so we were able to secure some investments for transportation and education in that budget. I did put in investments for Boston, but only my investment for the town of Milton came through for one of their elementary schools. The other thing, which is really big, is the House passed the PROTECT Act, which is a Black and Latino caucus bill around immigration protection, specifically clear rules for how state and local agencies can interact with federal immigration enforcement. Immigration is a federal issue, but we do have jurisdiction over what happens inside of our state buildings. And so it limits courthouse arrests, it protects workers from surprise workplace raids, and also ensures that immigrants can report crimes without fear. And that bill is in the Senate. I don't know if they took it up when they were in session the other day, but it is in their chamber now. This Wednesday, we are in formal session as the House, and we are voting on whether to ban children under the age of 14 from using social media. y'all know there's a lot of predatory things happening on social media. So just know that that's what's under consideration before us this week. And in March, so since we last came together, the Black Latino Caucus had their annual Black Excellence on the Hill celebration. It's a event we do yearly. Usually it's in February for Black History Month. This year it happened to be in March, just giving scheduling and snowstorms and things. But very excited to share with this group that this year's honoree on my end was Mattapan's very own Earl Falk, which many of you know Mr. Falk from the Colorado Street Civic Association, who is a quiet yet tireless community leader. Taking care of Hunt Almont Park, supporting long-time youth organizations, including the Mattapan Patriots as well. So we were able to give him his flowers at that celebration not too long ago. And then the last thing, sorry, a lot is happening for those who ride public transit and take the trolley. Construction is about to start on the Milton trolley stop for more accessibility and an actual sidewalk route that's closer to the stop, because right now people are like cutting through parking lots. So the T is going to start that work sometime in the next couple of weeks. That's all I have. I'll put Michaela and my contact in the chat. Apologies for the whole meeting. I was signing under her name, but it was me. But she also joins not too long after me. So thank you for your time and the announcement.
Thank you. Kenya, do you want to go ahead and make your acknowledgement?
No, but I think Asia still has to go, right?
Yeah.
Kenya,
Okay.
I do.
You can go. I mean, my thing will only take 60 seconds. So Asia, don't take up all the time, girl.
No worries. I
Well,
appreciate you. And I also have
actually, I was going to Rep Holmes, but Kenya,
okay.
since your hand is still up, I was giving you an opportunity to buy him some more time in case he was still in his meeting.
Oh, okay. It's fine. I can do that. No biggie. My only acknowledgement was to shout out Ruth Georges from the Cummins Highway Neighborhood Association and Fatima from, of course, Greater Mattapan Neighborhood Council for their hard work and diligence and facilitation for the Mattapan budget meeting that happened the end of March. They put a lot of effort into this. They had breakfast prepared. They had slides. Councilor Weber was there. Councilor Pepin was also present to share their thoughts and whatnot about the city's budget and projects and capital projects that were spoken about last year, and kind of giving us an update on it for this year and what we can do for the next fiscal year. And so I just want to sing their praises because they really put their all into that meeting. It was from 9:30 to about noon. We got out of there about something to 1 o'clock. It was very robust. It was filled with a lot of information. I wish I would have seen a lot more Mattapan residents present. It was very thin, if you will. Wasn't a whole lot of us up in there. And there's so many of us who come into these meetings who could have been at this meeting. Budget meetings are just as important, and GMNC should not be the only space to hear about budget stuff. I encourage you, because this is supposed to be an annual thing, that when you see these dates for the date for next year, 2027, I encourage you, those who are in this call, to show up, because it's very important to know what Mattapan wants for the next fiscal season. And this GMNC should not be the only space that should be heard. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Fatima and Ruth, for all that you've done for that meeting. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Kenya.
Rep
Rep Holmes.
Rep Holmes, sorry, see. Where'd he go?
Okay, he's probably still in this meeting. Asia, if you want to go ahead.
I sure can. I'll try to be quick. But I also brought some guests from code enforcement here. So to provide some context as to why code enforcement is here, I know a lot of residents have been concerned in regards to the T-Mobile alleyway over at Mattapan Square. We have been tagging them consistently, but I know I've been saying a lot and there still has been a lot of questions. So code enforcement is just here to essentially just break down how many times they've been out there, what they've been doing, and hear anything. But another random quick update that I have before I pass it off to code enforcement really quickly is that we have the youth job fair that is coming up. That will be April 18th at the bowling building. And yeah, I'll be having an office hour this Friday at Brothers from 10:30 to 11:30. So I have Tiger here. He's going to be real quick because I know we're over time. And then, yeah, but that's my spiel.
Well, thanks for having me, everybody. And I know you guys have sat through a long meeting already, so I'll make this quick. The T-Mobile spot has been completely cleaned up for now. We're going to have to continue regular controls there for the foreseeable future. Just make sure that they keep up with the alley. The area behind the post office has been cleaned up, but we're still working on that one spot where all the cars remain. I know that's going to be a zoning issue with inspection services. And aside from that, we got regular patrols going through daily. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer.
Thank you. All right. Rep Holmes, are you ready?
Yes, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to begin with just, I know we're way out of time, but I want to begin with the 14th Amendment and just simply say, I know that obviously last week there was a debate around the 14th Amendment, and the Supreme Court obviously is something we can listen to, which is not something that was possible before. And I took that opportunity as I've been here recently just to listen, to understand what is happening, because of the fact that so often we just take for granted some of these things that are just customarily best things that make this country great. So my quick ask on this is that some folks just don't understand what the 14th Amendment is. So there is a show on Netflix that is unfortunately 6 hours long if you watch all of it. But if you watch the first hour or two, I think it's very informative around what is the 14th Amendment. And it goes from Frederick Douglass, I think, in the first episode to the third episode with Dr. King. But it really talks fundamentally about how so many of the rights that we have, not just the 13th Amendment, which obviously made slavery illegal, but the 14th Amendment and how many of the things that we build our rights on, whether it be women's rights, transgender rights, immigrant rights, all really comes from that civil rights struggle. So I just ask and encourage everyone, if you could, if you have some time, watch Amend, AMEND. It is a show on Netflix that Will Smith has been a part of, or he and many, many others. So that's first. Second is I heard Chad talk about this coordination between the state and the city. Just know, from my perspective, my goal is to get the city as much money as I can in the state budget in multiple ways, whether that be through Chapter 90, which is transportation money, through Chapter 70, through charter school reimbursements. But much of that effort, once it gets to the city, I firmly believe is in the hands of our city council and the mayor's team. So it is a complete different budget process, but certainly I'm fighting for as much fun as I can, as well as obviously the Rep. Fluker Reed and the senators. They're fighting too to get us all the resources we can within the city, so that we can not have it so that the city feels like what I heard was most of the money is from property tax, but that is not the case. There are quite a bit of funds also coming from the city. So whether that be even CPA, like we get money uh, through some match in the CPA, we get money through school, the reimbursements we do for schooling bill authority. There are many, many places where there's money coming through UGMA. There are many other places other than just the funds that are coming through property tax that the state does help with, that we're doing the best we can to fight for that. Chad, thank you for coming to both meetings. As you can see by attending, there is enormous amount of money that we spend in this state. And and I'll end here, when the governor came to us and you asked how many meetings we have 8. The first meeting is done in the Ways and Means at the State House, and it's with the governor, the secretary of state, and the other members of the constitutional officers. And they come and they talk about just all the things that they think should change and the reason why they put the things that they put in the budget. But the thing that alarmed me when the governor came this year is when she said, "Hey, I've been really, really good about managing the budget this year. And um, as a consequence, we're only going to spend 1% more than what we spent last year, as my budget is 1% higher." And I will simply say, I don't know a single person in state government who comes to us and say, "Hey, I'm going to be happy with a 3% raise." And so even 3% is about what I would expect and hope we can try. That's why you have Prop 2.5. Even at 2.5%, you expect inflation, and with salaries and all the negotiations that have to happen with all the unions and the like, that you should expect the budget to move about at least 2.5, 3% a year. So when the gov comes up and says, "Hey, I've been able to hold this budget tight this year and I'm at 1%," that is a major red flag for me about what is it that's happening. Because behind the scenes, there's clearly something that we're holding. And so her administration has just been like, we don't want to cut benefits or eliminate benefits. We just want to try to cap them. And one of the conversations that I had with one of the dentists there in Mattapan Square was, hey, one of those caps is that currently under the Mass Health, if you have Mass Health, you have essentially, which is too much, an unlimited amount of dental care as an adult. Obviously, we had none for a while. Governor Baker came in and added back in dental, and now we have a Democrat governor coming back and taking them out. And so there's a cap now. And so the team was like, well, we don't want to eliminate dental. We want to just cap it. And she capped it, or the recommendation is capped at $1,000. And that was very alarming to the gentleman who called me, who's the dentist there in Mr. Woodward's office, and said, look, 70 to 75% of my patients are on Mass Health, unlike many other places who don't even take health care. Like my dentist, I know for certain does not take Mass Health. But he's like, if you do that, you're going to put several of us here out of business here in Mattapan. We focus on trying to serve this community. And if you look at the stat, literally 72% of the Black neighborhood is in the city or in the state is on Mass Health. And so I asked the question, well, what is this change going to reflect? How much is this going to be? It's $120 million. And so when you think about, yes, that's a $120 million cut. That's $120 million less in benefits that my neighborhood, 72% of this Black neighborhood, is on Mass Health. And so some of this fight has been, hey, what should we raise that limit to? My recommendation was, hey, let's make it match what traditional, ad paid. Like my limit is 2,500 a year, but the dentist was saying to me, let's rep when people have been without health care, they haven't been brushing their teeth, they've been homeless, they don't show up like what you may show up for $2,500 might be enough. They show up with 3 root canals and multiple caps, things of that nature. And so that's why I was saying I was happy to see Chad drive out to Clinton. I agree we should be much more into these conversations because of the fact that the fight is happening every single day around these budgets, and we're going to do the best we can. So, many other things, but I know that was longer than you all expected. But I wanted to just say when I can try to bring the budget meetings to Mattapan and Ways and Means, or when the city council can bring these budget meetings and the efforts that was happening by Fatima and the other group, it is important that we do hear your voice. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rep. Holmes. We're going to quickly move into some announcements. Are there any community announcements or events happening? I have a couple I'd like to share. Is there anyone else? Ruth, is your hand raised because you have an event that you'd like to share or some community things happening? Oh, Ruth, did you have a question?
No, it was from earlier. It's okay. My hand should have been down.
Okay, no problem. So I would like to make just 2 quick announcements. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the Shattuck Hospital redevelopment project and how now it's being called the Morton Street redevelopment project, but they're having a couple of virtual public meetings. I've asked Fatima to post the flyer to our website. I'm not able to share it in the link here, but the first meeting starts on April 15th at 6 o'clock. It's virtual. So if you guys want to be a part of what's coming to the Shattuck Hospital, I encourage you to attend those meetings, participate, share your voices. We all have a say in shaping what should be there for our community. And secondly, I want to let people know that I am working with some city employees, and we are organizing a tour for the Mattahunt Woods Urban Wild. That tour is going to happen May 16th. I'll make sure that I send the invite out to folks and post it on the GMNC website. I hope you all can attend. It's going to be a fun evening. A fun morning for us all. We'll have some activities and things like that. So I just wanted to point those 2 things out. Please make sure you frequent the GMNC website for updates on different events happening in the neighborhood that's affecting Mattapan, the Mattapan community. And that is all that I have to say. Is there anything else that anyone else would like to add? I know
I wanted to jump in. Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
There are other meetings happening about the the CIP, which is the MBTA. There are 3 things in there in particular. I did hear some about Blue Avenue earlier, but Blue Avenue is $160 million in the plan over the next 5 years. There's a $400 million project happening at the Opera Yards. We're going to put in the new busway, and then there's about $100 million coming on Fairmont lines. So in this current CIP, the Mattapan, the MBTA CIP, there's literally about $660 million just between those 3 projects. So please go to those meetings as well.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes.
Pam, I put the links to the meetings in the chat, to the state, the MBTA capital investment plan. People can get the information from there on that. And I also put the link to our site for the Shattuck information.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you. So
and
you
all that
guys,
information will get posted tonight on our site.
all right. Thank you all for hanging in there. I know it's been longer than usual. Appreciate it. And I hope everyone have an amazing rest of their week. Good night.
Thank you,
Night,
Pam.
everyone.
Mm-hmm. Night, everybody.
Good night.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, everybody, and happy belated Easter.
Thanks, you too, Tiger.
You too. Oh, that's Tiger. That's why everyone was saying something about Tiger in the chat.
Yes.
I couldn't figure it out.
Tiger, you were